Welcome back, everyone. Shavua Tov. Shavua Tov, Chodesh Tov.
Chodesh Tov.
Shmuel Bet, chapter 13. I left you with 3 little pieces of homework last week. Anybody remember what the homework was? No?
No.
Nobody remembers the homework? I think I'm going to have to write down the homework in future and send it out on the group because you're all verstopte cops. You can't remember anything, right? Okay, so the homework, there were 3 pieces of homework and it all revolved around verse 6. Let me put that on the screen for you. And I'll ask Jeffrey to read verse 6 for us, Jeffrey.
Yeah. So Amnon lay down and feigned illness, and the king came to visit him. Amnon said to the king, "Please let my sister Tamar come and prepare 2 dumplings in my sight, so that I may eat from her hand."
Okay, does that ring you any bells about the homework?
Yeah, why dumplings?
Yeah, how big are the dumplings?
Okay, so one of the questions was, yes, one of the homework was to tell me what this word utelabev levavot, what were these dumplings described as dumplings? What were they?
Latkes.
The second piece of homework, Jackie?
Can't remember.
Levavot is also hearts. Yeah,
Okay, we'll come to the answer in a minute. We've got to get the questions first, Philip. Don't jump the gun.
All right.
Okay, question number 2 was, why did he ask for 2? Shtei levavot, right? And the third question was, I wanted an explanation and a source for this verb, va'evra. How is your translation, Jeffrey, at the end of the verse, please?
So that I may eat from her hand.
That's what we've got on the screen as well. Michael Kraus, have you got any different translation by any chance?
Similar, and I will take the food from her hand.
Take the food from her hand. Okay. If you were going to say, and I shall eat from her hand in Hebrew, how would you say that?
Uchal.
Ochal miyadea.
Echol, if you was in the future tense, you would use some version of the verb le'echol. Yeah. And yet we don't have that here. We have a different verb. So those were the 3 pieces of homework. What are these dumplings? Why were there 2 of them? And what's this verb va'evra all about? So I'm really glad that you've all worked so hard on the homework.
I wasn't here, so I wasn't here.
Okay, you're excused. You're excused. No excuse, Peter. You could have listened to the recording. No excuse. No excuse.
I've got cakes rather than dumplings.
Lavev is to stir up, like to beat. In the context of the sense, it would be to, like you make scrambled eggs and you scramble them up. That would be to lavev.
Okay, all right.
Which is, yeah, she'll stir me up.
That's okay. Very good. I think, though. Hang on a sec, Hannah. Whoa, wait. Hang on a sec. Levavev, Hannah tells us, is to scramble, to make up, to beat. Okay. Why is it to beat, Hannah?
I think it also has a context of to make beloved. To make somebody liked. I don't know why it is in the context to beat.
Okay, but slow down. Let's slow down.
To stir him up, like to.
Okay, very good. So Hannah has picked up on the idea that the Hebrew word to lavev means to beat up and to stir. Philip said something earlier on I'm going to ask you to repeat it, Philip. You can unmute yourself now and tell us.
Levavot being the plural of lev, of heart.
Yes. Okay, so the plural of heart, lev, is levavot. Okay. Hannah, what does a heart do?
The seat of emotion.
Yeah, but what does it actually physically do?
Beat.
It beats. There you go. There's your origin of the word tilavev, meaning to beat. And here, I would like to suggest to you that the modern Hebrew word of to beat, tilavev, comes from this pasuk. Because what is he asking Tamar to do? He's asking her to come and cook for him in his sight. Now, when you're making stuff, let's say he was making scrambled eggs, what would he do? She'd have to beat them up, right? And that's where this comes from. But the root of the word here, the psychological root underneath the surface, is what Philip said and what Hannah just said, and that is that the heart is the seat of the emotion, right? Utlavev le'enai shtei levavot. She should beat up two levavot. They've described here as dumplings. Michael's got cakes, right? Because that's what it is physically. But the implication here is that they should stir up the seat of the emotion, stir up the heart.
Levavot are also, they say dumplings, but in all my experience here, levavot are fried. They're latkes.
Okay, right. Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Doesn't matter what it is. Dumplings, latkes, whatever you want to call them. The point is that the root of the word here is from lev, the seat of the emotion, like you said. So the physical translation, if you like, is that she should come and beat up latkes or dumplings or cakes or whatever way you want to call it. But the implication is that she should come and beat up the emotion. So that's the answer to the first part of the homework. Levavot are these physical things, but the root of the word comes from lev, the heart, which is the seat of the emotion, and of course the seat of love. I love you with all my heart. Okay, b'chol levavecha. We're told to love God, b'chol levavecha, with all your heart. Okay, now why two? The second part of the homework was why two?
You've got two hearts, his and hers.
Yes, well, more than that even, right? What do you do when you want to woo a partner? What do you do? You take them out for dinner, right? Yeah. You take them out for a romantic. God, where have all you lot been?
Buy them dumplings.
Yeah, you take her out for a romantic dinner, and you sit tete-a-tete, close to one another, and you eat your romantic dinner. Shtei levavot. He didn't just want one latka for himself. He said, let her come and make two. This is the whole point of this, is for him to seduce her, right? And to romanticize her and woo her. So the shtei levavot, the two dumplings, right, are the part of the seduction process. Okay, now then, that's the second part of the homework. You're doing really well here, guys. The third part of the homework.
Dumplings aren't romantic. Dumplings, I'm sorry, are not romantic.
Latkes, yeah.
Depends how you eat them, Philip. Depends how you eat them. If you. Okay, so the third part of the homework. Ve'evra miyadeha. What is the root of that word?
Aleph, Bet, Resh. It means it's organ of the body, human.
An aver, okay.
Aver, yeah.
All right. Try putting a yud after the resh and see what happens.
Bari,
the aleph, Peter, is part of the conjugation.
It's the future, yeah.
So the root here is bet resh yud.
So health,
Health.
health,
Correct.
health,
Ve'evra. I will become healthy.
healthy.
I will. Yeah. And what is he saying to the king at this point? The king thinks that he is.
I think that's stretching it a bit.
No, it's not. And I'll tell you why it's not. The king thinks.
Bahrain,
Wait, let me
Bahrain,
finish. Let me finish. I'm going to have to mute you. There you go. You're muted. Right. Amnon has told the king that he's not well. He's feigned illness. Okay? He's feigned illness. So he says, let Tamar come and I will I will become healthy from her hand. I'll become well again. Now, before I unmute Hannah, she's already unmuted herself, right? Before I allow Hannah to jump in, I want to also mention to you that there is another expression that we have spoken about in the Gemara Shir, way back when we were talking about the halachot of Shiv'ah. What do we call the meal that we make for the mourners after the funeral?
Breakfast.
Well, that's what we call it in English, but it's not, in fact, a proper translation at all. What is the Hebrew expression?
Zechumim.
No, it is called, David Marks, do you know what it's called?
Yeah. If I unmute myself, Sudat Havara.
Correct. It's called the Sudat Havara, which means the Su'udah, the meal of improving health, right? Of recovery. It's a meal that we give to the mourners to help them recover from their grief. They've just buried their loved one and they come back and it's called a Sudat Havara. Okay? It's the same word.
Yes, but that's in no good.
There's only one problem.
I've nearly finished, Hannah. You just have to hold on a bit, right? You know, we just have to hold on a bit. Amnon is sick. He's sick. He's lovesick. And this is the same word as Sudat Havara. It's the meal that is going to make him improved in his health, and it's going to come from Tamar. So the three pieces of homework we've now answered. You did really well. Levavot is the beating heart, the romantic heart. That's the implication. Two of them because he wants a romantic meal for two. Remember, what happens is he sends everybody out, right? He doesn't want everybody what he wants. This romantic candlelit dinner for two. And the evra, that verb means to become more healthy. Right, Hannah, off you go.
My only pushback on that is that Bari, which is the shoresh of what you're talking about, is spelt with an aleph.
So, okay, no.
So there's no aleph there. It's a hey.
Okay, no.
Yeah, and you know, whereas I think there is something maybe in the fact that the word that is used is also the word for an organ.
Yeah, but that's not true either, because Aver, the aleph here is part of the future tense. Yeah. So the aleph is not part of the root. So you can't have it both ways, Tan. If you're not having an aleph at the end, I'm not allowing you an aleph at the beginning.
Johnny?
Okay.
Right, Jackie, your turn.
Can I give you the Kabbalistic view on this?
If you must.
Definitely.
We eat latkes on Hanukkah, which is the festival of light. And for him to have the two latkes from her, she's the light of his heart.
Oh, okay. That's a bit contrived, Jackie, but okay. All right, I'll buy it.
But there was no romance in it. He wasn't intending to romance her. He was just intending to take her.
Ah, no, I don't think that's true, Michael. I think he did intend to romance her, but in the end, he couldn't hold himself back. and we'll see as we go along. We've mentioned it earlier on, but we'll come to it shortly why I think that's the case. But you're quite right to point out that he doesn't romance her. You know, Lama said, in fact, he does not romance her. But I think that his intention was to romance her. Only he couldn't hold himself back. Yes, David Marks, you have a finger up.
Yeah, interesting parallel expressions in other Semitic languages. If you look at Koren, page 310.
Page 310. Okay, let's have a look at that. Right, okay, let's have a look. 310. Making heart cakes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I read this. Yes, I remember this now. Yeah, listen to this. This is really interesting. Amnon requested that Tamar prepare levavot for him. The name of this pastry, which appears here as a noun 3 times and twice more in verb form, comes from lev, heart, an appropriate item for the infatuated Amnon to request. However, as the narrative shows, his love, inverted commas, was only carnal. After raping her despite her plea not to, he loathed her. That's coming up in a minute. The levavot may have been heart-shaped pastries. In Akkadian and Mesopotamian types of bread were given names indicating that they were shaped like a body part, such as akal ubanatum, a finger-shaped pastry, ninda ritu, hand-shaped bread, ninda basistu, ear-shaped bread, and ninda musi, breast-shaped bread. Both of these cultures have words for heart-shaped bread. The Akkadian akal libu and Mesopotamian ninda libu, same sort of language. Now, I did read that, David, and that's where I came from with the levavot. You're quite right to point that out. And I'll tell you what else struck me as I was reading that, and see if it struck anybody else. Give me another example in Judaism of body-shaped, what do they call it? Body part-shaped food.
Oznei Haman.
Thank you, Hannah. Oznei Haman. We would call them in English. Homentashen. In Hebrew, they're called Oznei Haman, the ears of Haman, right? They're shaped like ears, and that's the same idea. Thank you for pointing that out, David. I had read that, and I thought it was fascinating. There's also a brilliant wooden tomb model of bread making from a very long time ago. Let me see if I can show you that. Let me see. Can I show you that? Can you see that model there?
No. This nearer the
okay, I'll copy it. I'll copy it and send it on the group. Really interesting. This is from the 20th to the 19th century BCE, which would predate David HaMelech by 1,000 years. And they are busy making bread, presumably in heart shapes. Okay, very interesting. Right, that was last week's homework done. Let's carry on. So, I want you to note now the sequence of events. Amnon is lovesick. Yonadav, his mate, says to him, "What's up with you? You're all miserable." And he says, "I'm lovesick, and I don't know how to woo this girl." Yonadav gives him a plan. He puts the plan into effect and says to the king, like Yonadav says, "I'm sick. Send Tamar to make me these 2 levavot." And David buys it. David is taken in by this. Verse 7, Jeffrey, please.
David sent to Tamar at the house, saying, "Go now to your brother Amnon's
Johnny,
house."
can you make the text a bit bigger? I can't see a thing.
Can I make the text a bit bigger? I'm not sure I can, actually. Maybe I can. I don't know.
"Go now to your brother Amnon's house and prepare a light meal for him."
Right, stop there. Stop there. Right, there we go. have a look at the last word. Make for him habriya. Okay. And again, translated here as the food for him. Jeffrey said a light meal. What have you got, Michael?
Breakfast.
Breakfast. There you go. Right? Breakfast, because the translator of your Chumash there has taken it from the Sudat Havara that David mentioned, the Living Nach. Thank you, Michael. So there you go. There's my proof. The Living Nach is on my side here. Sorry, Hannah, you're outgunned, because the Living Nach, written, translated by Arya Carmel, I think. Is that right? Is that right, Rav Arya Carmel?
I concede.
Arya Kaplan, isn't it?
Arya Kaplan, yeah. Sorry, not Arya Carmel. Arya Kaplan, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I've got support there. Hannah's conceded. There's a first. Very good. Okay. Right. Let's carry on and see. Well, no, not carry on yet. What does David say, and what does David not say?
He doesn't say he's ill.
No, he doesn't. No, but he must buy it, because otherwise he wouldn't send her. What does he not say? What word does he not use?
Please.
He doesn't use the word levavot, does he? He doesn't use the word levavot. Now, we said that levavot has an implication of romance from the heart. Well, David wouldn't use that word, because he wouldn't have any thought in his head that Amnon was faking this illness so that he could woo or rape Tamar, because if he did, he wouldn't have sent her. So it's understandable that David did not use the word lavavot. Right? He uses the word habriya, from our word to become healthy. Go to your brother's house and prepare him food to make you healthy. Right? If you were in my house when you were a kid and you had to have food that would make you healthy, you'd get steamed fish. Right? That was all you got when you were ill. You got steamed fish. Just made you more ill. I mean, what were they thinking? Were they giving us steamed fish? Right? But that's what David's thinking. Go make him some steamed fish to make him feel better. Right? What else doesn't he say? What else doesn't he say?
To give him the food, just to prepare it. That's all he says.
Stay. 2. He doesn't say go and make 2.
Yeah.
Right? 2 pieces of steamed fish, so you can have a romantic tete-a-tete, candlelight dinner for 2. David does not mention shtei, and he does not mention levavot, because he's not thinking it along those lines. Right? Amnon subconsciously, using the language that is used, had David been present at our shiur before this happened, he would have known from the language that Amnon used that there was something off here. Right? What are you using romantic language for with your sister, you rotter? Right? But he hasn't thought about it, because why would he? And so he says, your brother's ill, go and make food for him. Okay, very good. David is taken in by this. Right, let's see what happened. Verse 8, Jeffrey, I've muted you while you were off, so you need to unmute.
Tamar went to her brother Amnon's house where he was lying down. She took some dough and kneaded it and prepared it in his sight, and she cooked the dumplings. Okay, there we go. Let's just have a look at the Hebrew words. Vatelech Tamar Beit Amnon. She went to the house of Amnon, Achia. Again, the Navi is stressing the fact that she was his sister. Now, we know, don't we, because we've done this a couple of weeks ago, that there are 2 tracks
There's one track that says she was a half sister because she was the daughter of David. But there's another track that says she was no relation to to Amnon, because she was Avshalom's sister only through his mother Ma'acha, and she had a different father. In which case, Amnon's crime was, inverted commas, only rape and not incest. Michael doesn't like it, and I don't blame him not liking it, because Tanakh is constantly stressing the fact that she was his sister. You've got a point, Michael. However, the Gemara that we learned in Sanhedrin is definitely one opinion, that she was not his sister, and therefore she could ask him to go to the king and ask for her hand in marriage. Yes, Hannah?
I would tend to also say that it's stretching it because David calls her Amnon's sister. Now, if she wasn't related through David, why would he call her his sister?
I agree. I think it's also stretched as well. But we can't ignore the fact that there is an opinion in the Gemara, and it's important that we recognize that. We are also entitled, all of us, to say that we prefer the other track, the more obvious track. And if we go down that more obvious track, what the author of Shmuel Bet is telling us all the time, let's just count the number of times she is called a sister, right? Well, Avshalom, and that doesn't count in verse 1 because it's talking about Avshalom's sister. But let's see how many times she is called Amnon's sister. Let's just go through it. Verse 2, she's called his sister. That's 1. Verse 4, she's called Tamar Achot. No, that's Achot Avshalom. Okay, so that's not 1. Okay, where are we? There we go. Tamar Achoti, he says. Right, so that's number 2. Verse 6, another one, Achoti, that's 3. Verse 7, your brother, that's 4. Verse 8, 5. So we've only got to verse 8, and 5 times the author of Shmuel Bet is telling us that they are brother and sister, and there are more to come. So I agree with all of you. I agree with Michael's pulled face. I agree with Hannah's comment, but we still have to recognize that there is another opinion in the Gemara. Okay, so right, let's go through the pasuk. Vatelech Tamar Beit Amnon Achia. She went to the house of Amnon, her brother. Now, the other thing I'd like to say on that particular Achia, her brother, is that she had no idea this was going to happen. She thought she was going to her brother's house. So somebody at some point raised the issue of whether Tamar was in some way culpable, and I think that would be very, very harsh indeed. And I think that the fact that Achia is used in this pasuk is telling us that Tamar had no idea that this was coming. She just went in all innocence to her brother's house. Next words, Vahu shochev. He was lying down. We've got an implication there, haven't we? We've said this before. Michael, what is shochev a euphemism for?
Well, it says in bed in brackets.
Yeah, he was lying in bed. When the Torah and Tanakh talks about shochev, what's it usually talking about?
Having relations.
Yeah, sexual relations. Yeah, we said it last week. Yosef and Potiphar and Eshed Potiphar. One sec, Hannah. Yosef and Eshed Potiphar. Bashchovel Elai, come and lie with me. Right? And in fact, he says it himself in a few psukim's time. Look in verse Yud Aleph, in verse 11. Boy, shichvi imi, come and lie with me. So I think here where it says V'hu shochev, he was lying down, it's not just he was lying down. His thought process is already turning to carnal lust. Yes, Hannah?
In this time, was there the concept of ichud? That when he sends everybody out, he's actually breaking a rule that says you're not allowed to be ichud.
Okay, those of you who have learned the Gemara share with us will know the answer to that question.
Yes.
Yes, go on, Jackie. Yes is not a good enough answer.
Well, a virgin or an unmarried woman is not allowed to be in a locked room with a man at any time.
That was not the question. The question was, did yichud, as you've just described it, Jackie, exist at this time?
It was only introduced as a result of this.
Ah, Michael Krause, spot on. If you learn the Gemara Sanhedrin, Chaf Aleph 21, which is just 1 page ago, might have been quite a while for us, but it was only 1 page ago, right? We learned that the Isur, the prohibition of Yichud with an unmarried woman, was only introduced, as Michael has just said, as a result of this episode of Amnon and Tamar. Michael, prior to this episode, what was the Isur of Yichud?
With a married woman?
Only with the forbidden marriages, married woman being one of them. So, apart from your mother and your grandmother, right, you couldn't be with an Eshet Ish. You couldn't be with your daughter-in-law. All the things that you're not allowed to have marital relations with, that was Yichud, the original Yichud from the Torah. Gemara Sanhedrin teaches us that after this episode with Amnon and Tamar, the Chazal introduced the concept of Yichud with a single woman. So the answer to your question, Hannah, is not as Jackie said yes. The answer is no. There was no such thing as Yichud right now. Only after this episode did that Yichud come about. Okay, good. So,
Johnny.
Yes, David.
You've spoken about one euphemism. What about the other euphemism used in Tanakh, that food stands for marital relationships?
Oh, that's also true. Yes. Can you give us any examples?
Again, Yosef and Potiphar. Ki et halechem asher hu ochel.
Correct. The Yosef, very, very good, David. I hadn't picked up on that, but you're absolutely right. Yosef says to Potiphar, Potiphar says to Yosef, you're in charge of my entire household. And Yosef, and the only thing you can't do is except for my food, right? And Eshet Potiphar wants him to lie with her. And Yosef says, your master has allowed me to do everything. I do everything except for you. And the implication is that one of the explanations of that is that it was forbidden for Egyptians to eat with Hebrews. Where do we learn that from? Where's that opinion from?
From Joseph, from when he met his brothers.
Yeah, when Joseph and his brothers, right, they can't eat with the Egyptians. But the other explanation is what David said, is that it's a euphemism for sexual relations. Eating is a euphemism. Very good. Excellent. Good. All right. So Tamar goes to Beit Amnon. He goes to the house of Amnon, her brother, and he's lying down in his bed thinking dirty thoughts. Vatikach et habatzek, and she takes the dough, vatalash, and she kneads it, right? Vatelabev le'einav, right? Now, if we take that word that we all did our homework about so well, at its physical level, vatelabev le'einav, means what Hannah told us. She was beating it up and kneading it and working the whatever you do to make your dumplings or your latkes or your cakes or whatever it is. In other words, she was working it with her hands. But if you take telavev to mean the psychological thing that we talked about, which is to stir up his emotions, vatelabev le'inav, him watching her work with her hands has stirred up his emotions. Can you see how it fits beautifully with both the simple pshat and the deeper psychological pshat? It's a beautiful completion of this metaphor, if you like, this pasuk. Now, there is a Kriyan Ktiv here, Vatalash. Can you see that in brackets? Ktiv Vatalash. What does talash mean? What is lisha? It's one of the 39 malachot of Shabbat.
Litlosh is to pull something off.
That's true. But what is the malacha of lisha?
Detach?
Kneading the dough. Okay, kneading with a K, right? Kneading, right? And that's why I think you actually, oh, there it is, and kneaded it. Can you see in the translation there? Did you read out kneading as well, Jeffrey?
Yeah.
And the reason for that is, and this makes our point about the psychological aspect of the pshat even stronger. In Tanakh, if you look in a Tanakh, you will see not the word vatalabev, you will see the word vatalash. And she needed it, because that's what it says. But we have a Kriya Ktiv. It's read vatalabev. And it's read vatalabev because vatalabev means she stirred up his desire. It fits in beautifully with our pshat. And then what did she do? Vatavashel, she cooked et halavavot. She cooked the dumplings. But if you want to take the psychological thing, what happens when you cook something? How do you cook something?
Heat it up.
You heat it up. Vatavashel et halavavot. She heated up, unknowingly, she heated up the whole business. Right? The lust. Yeah. It's amazing, this pasuk. Once you see that pshat, it stands out like crazy. But you know, if you don't see it, you don't see it.
Could you say it's more than just psychological, Johnny?
Go on.
That she is responding to his lustful thoughts in the way that she read into it what you probably don't want to read into it.
Okay, so David is suggesting that she is, in fact,
leading him on,
or actually enjoying the idea that he is lusting after her.
Again, with the association of food and relationships.
Okay, let's just go down there for a minute.
But she never offered to cook for him. She was ordered to do it.
Okay, let's just go down there for a minute. Michael, you're right. I'm going to ask the ladies here. Is it possible, and I'm not asking you to tell us any secrets here, I just want a lady's view on this. Is it possible that a woman would enjoy the attentions of a man even if she had no intention or no desire to be with that man in a carnal way? Is that possible? Ladies, we have 3 ladies on the screen here. And Avril's trying to hide by putting her head down, so I'm going to ask her first. Go on, Avril, what do you think?
Did you want?
We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Sort of. Go on.
Maybe she just wanted a bit of fun, a bit of flirt. It could have been a fun game.
Okay, so the answer, I think Avril has said in her opinion, yes, it is possible that she is a bit flirtatious and enjoys the attention. All right, Hannah, what do you say?
I think that there's a cultural thing here. I think your question comes, and I'm not being offensive or anything like that. It comes from my relationship with my daughter's family, which is Haredi. And when you raise boys and girls separately, things are different to if you grow up together. I don't know how Amnon and Tamar grew up, but if they grew up together, then boys and girls enjoy each other's company without any sort of carnal implications. They're just friends, and they joke and they play and they, thing.
I think that's a very fair observation, and therefore
it could just be he's her brother. She's known him all her life. They get on well, and they banter. It may, from her side, it probably didn't have any sort of carnal connotation whatsoever.
Okay, so there we have a possibility that she was enjoying the attention, and another view that they were just brother and sister and they grew up together, and therefore it was just a healthy relationship from her side. Faye, what do you think, Faye?
I don't know how to unmute.
You're
Am I unmuted?
We can hear you.
Johnny?
The way you worded the question,
what Faye's got to say.
The way you worded the question, she sounds complicit. It makes her sound complicit. Yeah, she might enjoy the attention, but I think you're wording it in a way, the way you're putting it is like it's a leading question trying to make her complicit. And
okay,
I don't feel
the
good with that.
question was, one second, Peter.
Yeah.
One second, Peter. The question was not meant to say that she was complicit. The question was, in fact, I think I made it clear that that wasn't the case. My question was, is it possible, as David has suggested, that a woman who has no carnal intentions, that was what I said, could still nevertheless enjoy the flirtatious attentions of a man?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 2 yeses and a nice, easy brother and sister relationship. Fine, very good. I'm interested to hear what Peter's got to say now.
I think the answer is yes. I'm sure there can be enjoyment, but there's this problem that we have to this day of men who are accused of rape, and the defense so often is, yes, but it wasn't really my fault. I couldn't resist because the woman was clearly acting in a way that was going to excite me, and I think that's problem today. Yeah,
no, that's a very common defense, isn't it? That they were provoked into doing it. Of course, the most common defense for rape is that it was consensual. But a defense slightly less than that was, well, it's not my fault. She gave me the come on.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's the case here with Tamar. I think Tamar has absolutely no intention or thoughts in that regard whatsoever. However, for what it's worth, I actually think that Avril and Faye are right. That I think that it's not. I think it's natural for a woman to be flattered, or a man for that matter, if they are given attention, even if they know it's not going to lead anywhere or shouldn't lead anywhere. Yes, Jackie?
If she had no idea of what was going to happen, she went and cooked the dumplings. Now, obviously, she didn't cook the dumplings in his bedroom, did she? So she would have given them to a servant to take them to him. Why did she have to go?
Because that was the whole point. David told her to go. And I think that if you remember what we said earlier on last week, I think, was, why did Yonadav say the plan was to feign sickness, because the whole idea was to get Tamar there. And the idea was that he was so sick that he could only get better if his dear sister would come and look after him. Because you're absolutely right. We said this last week. If it was just food that he wanted, David could have said, get the chef to make him whatever he wants, his steamed fish or whatever it is, and take it to him. Why does it have to be Tamar? That's exactly the point. That was Yonadab's cunning plan, was to get Tamar in there. Okay, so I think we're all agreed that Tamar is an innocent victim here. I don't think anybody thinks that she was complicit.
No.
However, I think the point that David Marks makes, which is that there is, because she was tavashelet alavavot, perhaps she did enjoy the attention, but I wouldn't like to overstress that, because I like Faye, I'm uncomfortable with that sort of defense for this horrific behavior of Amnon. Let's go on.
I only suggested it, Johnny, because of the euphemisms that have been used earlier in the text.
It's a fair thing to raise, absolutely a fair thing to raise. And it's a good discussion to have had. Hannah, is that a new hand up?
Yeah.
No, mine.
Yes.
Go on.
First of all, I agree 100% with Peter. It smacked at the beginning of the conversation a little bit like blame the victim, but you've clarified that it's not. But the other thing that arose in my mind is, in your opinion, can you have a platonic relationship between a man and a woman?
Yeah, I think you can.
Yes.
I think you can. But it has to be platonic on both sides. It's very difficult to have a one-sided platonic relationship, which is what this is, right? Tamar is Amnon's brother. She's got a brotherly, sisterly relationship in her head with Amnon. And Amnon is not platonic, clearly. So yes, of course you can have a platonic relationship between a man and a woman, but it has to be two-sided. It can't be one-sided, or else it doesn't work.
Also, I just came into my head that she's got a brother, Avshalom. She may have a very good platonic relationship with her brother, and here Amnon is also her brother, and she possibly may not see it as any different. She gets on well and jokes and gets attention from her brother Avshalom, and he's also her brother. And
I agree. I absolutely agree, and I think that this is a good actual description, because what's happened here is you have this dissonance between Amnon's feelings and Tamar's feelings. Tamar just thinks he's his brother, as you've just said, and we get on nicely, and that's it. And he's not feeling well, so I'll go and do whatever I can to make him feel better. And Amnon clearly has got this love sickness, this lust sickness for his sister, which is unhealthy. Yeah.
Johnny?
Yes, Peter.
No, I was just thinking of the word talash, because in Hebrew, talash has got a few meanings, and when you get a salary at the end of the month, it's called tlush maskoret, which is like confirmation of your salary. Talush, it's the same shoresh. I don't know if it's significant here. I mean, I don't think Tamar was at all conducive to this situation, but talash has got a number of meanings, and that's one of them. It means
that's interesting. How can we connect that?
I don't know. Like talush is like a statement
your wage slip. Your wage slip.
But it also means
you can connect it through the other definition of talash. Talash is also to pull something off. You pluck a fruit from a tree, or when the accountants do the salaries, it's 2 pages. It's the one that they write on, which that later gets torn out and given to the employee, and there's a carbon copy underneath that stays. So that could be where the klush comes from.
Oh, that's good. That's interesting. That's interesting. You used a word there, which possible. I think I'm stretching it here, to be honest. You used the word pluck, right? To pluck a fruit. You know, maybe he here was plucking away her virginity. I think it's a bit of a stretch, to be honest, but okay, maybe we've probably exhausted that point. We've got a couple of minutes. Let's see the next pasuk. So she's busy cooking, right? And he's probably, while she's cooking, he's probably, you know, trying to woo her. Verse 9, Jeffrey, please. Oh, Jeffrey's dropped off. Okay, Vatikach et mashret. She took the pan, Vatitzok lefanav, and she poured out. Presumably, she poured out the mixture of this of the latkes. Vayima'en lechol, and he refused to eat. Now, I'm going to stretch a verbal comparison a bit further here. Vayima'en lechol. Bearing in mind David Marks's very astute observation that food is a euphemism sometimes for sexual relations, where am I finding vayima'en in the Torah in that context? And what is very special about the word that I'm thinking of?
Has it got a shalshelet? Is it
very good, Peter. It does have a shalshelet.
Yeah.
It does have a shalshelet. Explain to us what a shalshelet is.
It's when you read it in the Torah, you go up and down 3 times.
It's a triple poser. A triple poser. And where is that word with a shalshelet?
I can't remember, but I think it's in Bereshit.
It is?
I can't remember where.
In what context?
I can't remember.
Okay, David, tell us.
Yosef and Potiphar's wife.
Yes, Yosef and Potiphar's wife. Right. She says to him, come and lie with me. And he refuses. He refuses. Right? And in the triple pazer, which is the longest note that there is in the Kriya, is an indication that this refusal was not so straightforward. Right? It took a lot of effort to refuse this come on from Eshet Potiphar. So yes, Vayima'en le'achol. Immediately that I saw that, I was taken back to Yosef and Potiphar. Do you think that's a stretch, David? I'm not so sure. I think it's probably
definitely not.
Okay, David's with me on that. We think it's a legitimate comparison. Okay.
Can I also point out Jonathan Sax's explanation of the first 3 shalshelets in the Torah, that they all indicate hesitation.
Okay, so let's go through those 3. One we've said, which is the hesitation of Yosef in Potiphar. What are the other 2 hesitations? One is Vayitma Mea with Lot and the angels. That where he delayed and he hesitated before going with the angels. That's 2. Where's the third one, David, please?
Eliezer going to get a wife for Yitzchak.
Okay, where's the context? Where's the shalshelet?
The shalshelet, what's the word? Vayomar.
Vayomar.
Hashem Elokeim, Avi Avraham, something like that.
Okay, and the hesitation there is what?
What's the hesitation? According to some of the Mefarshim, he would rather find, or Rivka might be more suitable for his unmarried son than for his master's unmarried son, and therefore he hesitated. Is this in my best interests, or is it in the best interests of my master?
Okay, I think I heard it the other way around.
Yes.
So he was more interested in his daughter for Yitzchak.
Yes.
Sorry, so you're right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was more interested in he was hoping that Rivka would turn out either not to be the right one, or she'd refuse to come, in which case he might have a chance for his daughter to marry Yitzchak.
Yeah.
And that was the hesitation. Excellent. So there you go. Vayomar is the third of those, or actually it's the first of those three. Is it before Vayitmameh? No, I think it's the second, isn't it? I think Vayitmameh is the first.
Vayitmamah.
Vayitmamah is the first, and then Eliezer, and then Yosef. Excellent. All right, we're going to stop there because we're out of time.
Just stretching your last comment. You're talking about love and eating and everything else, but he refused to eat, which would imply, if we stretch it even further, that she was coming on to him.
Ooh. No, he wanted to get her close to his bed.
Okay. All right, he refused to. Okay, that's where we'll carry on next week, folk. Michael says that he refused to eat means that she was coming on to him. Ooh,
it's a stretch, but following on from what you said, it's very iffy. But that could be an argument.
It's a bold statement. Michael's rowing back already. Okay, what we need to do next week then is begin with verse 9 and go on to verse 10 and 11 and see what happens. If you don't want a spoiler, Michael, then don't read on. Okay, any questions before we go? Yes, Philip, for some reason we can't hear you. No, we can't hear you at all. Okay, you write it down. Yeah, it's very good, that. Okay, right, let's stop the recording. There we go.